we're talking about resentment. And I did have a girlfriend who said to me not too long ago, hey Tina, how did you cope with and adjust to having a husband who traveled so much out of the year while you were home working a full-time job, and still we had 3 children that we were raising together? And so that kind of brought up the topic of resentment.
Yeah.
So
No, because I have a lot of my friends, or just people in the industry that I've spent a lot of my time in, that they're out doing and living the dream, you know, the proverbial dream.
Yes.
You know, seeing the amazing experiences, you know, of the world, traveling, etc., etc. And the spouse can feel like, yo, while you out here doing X, Y, and Z, I'm left here holding it down. And I know that's a very honorable thing.
Yes.
But like, if you pull back the covers of it, there are times when, you know, I've had a lot of my friends be like, yo, my wife, she secretly resents me because I'm out here doing. Yeah. And she feels earning. Earning, you know, and she feels like while she honors that and while she respects that, and that's amazing, but I'm getting all of the great experiences and she feels like she's stuck. Yeah. And so I think it was a great question. How did you know, as a wife that worked a full-time job and held the home down, how did you not resent me for the season that I was in that God kind of called me to?
Yeah. Well, I think we have to go back like a little bit further. Yeah. So like even in our courting. Mama Brady would love that.
Medieval times.
We courted.
We like medieval movies. I don't care. Any medieval movie we love. Okay.
Count of Monte Cristo. That was our favorite.
That's the greatest movie ever.
Man with the Iron Mask.
Yes. Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh man. Yeah.
Those are our movies.
Sorry.
But I was just thinking we have to go back a little bit further than that, because we really started becoming friends before we dated. Yeah. We were on the road together. Yeah. You came on, you started traveling with Mom at that point. I was single,
Love moms, man. Love moms.
I was helping to manage everything that was happening with her ministry at that time, as well as not only in the office, but I would go on the road as well to make sure she was taken care of. And so our friendship really developed a lot, even on the road away from home.
You're a cool chick.
We had good times. Wait, did he just give me an Eskimo?
No, that's
in front of everyone?
No, that's how Judah, our baby boy, that's how
he used to do that.
He does that. So yeah.
So anyways, so I did, and I grew up on the road. So my situation may be different from others, or the perspective may be, because I grew up in a tour bus for several years. My family took us from like age 11 to probably 15. Took us out of school. We started being homeschooled. We lived on a tour bus, and we traveled the country as a family in full-time ministry.
Oh, like the Partridge Family, huh?
Kind of, sort of. But it was a lot of Jesus and laying on of hands. Come back.
Okay. Hey man, so you are heavy-handed.
It's because my dad is heavy-handed.
Oh, snap.
Oh, it runs in the family.
Okay.
But anyway, so I have done a lot of traveling my entire life. Yeah. And then when we were just meeting each other and becoming friends, I did a lot of traveling through that time as well. So I never felt like stuck at home, because I have lived a good life up until that point. I've traveled, I've seen a lot of places, been to a lot of different countries, great experiences, supporting my mom and just being there for her. But when we got married and started having kids, I think the thing that kept me from getting resentful about him going, because at 36 weeks pregnant with Jaden, who is now 15, by the way. Yeah.
We're old.
I traveled until I was 36 weeks pregnant. Most people don't know that, but some people do, because they were like, "Who is this girl waddling?"
Singing, "Oh, the glory."
I was the psalmist.
Of your presence.
Are you done? I was the psalmist. I was the armor bearer. I was the, hey, run to the soundboard and tell him to turn her up in the monitors girl. Yeah. As well as kind of like the manager and just making sure everything went smoothly for everybody on the road. I had a lot of hats. Now that I think back and look at it.
You did.
But when I hit 36 weeks pregnant with Jaden, they wouldn't let me fly anymore. And I'll never forget Jamal Bryant looking at me and saying, when I was like 36 weeks, it was my last trip, and he was like, Tina, we know you love your mom, but
this is gross.
This is gross. I was like, dang. He's
you
like,
need to be home.
Sis, just go home and get prepared for this baby. You only got like 3 or 4 weeks left.
I remember that.
Shout out to Pastor Jamal.
Yeah.
But I got to experience a lot with you on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what kept me from getting resentful on the back end is that you had and you asked for my blessing in what you were doing next. My next season was, I'm home. I birthed a baby. 3 babies by that time.
It was working.
3 boys. But I knew that my season was to be at home and to establish our family.
That is so big. And understanding seasons. And
I didn't feel like I was shortchanged or I wasn't contributing because I was raising our kids.
Yeah. But is that because you had an acute awareness of, I know what season I'm in?
Well, you have to.
But that's how most people miss it though, because you don't. So a lot of people, and I've missed it. I have missed it, and not knowing that I'm in a different season, and so what you can do is go into a new season playing by old rules.
Yeah.
And when you do that, man, you get like it is a
Now, let me tell you something though. That doesn't mean that it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
That there were nights that I cried. I would call him. I would call Rose, who kind of took over. I love you, Rosie. On the road for me after I had to come off, making sure that mom was taken care of, making sure that you were good, making sure that Rosie was good, that people were living up to what they said they were doing, right? But I remember nights crying because I was separated from something that I was so ingrained into, which was just her ministry.
I never knew you cried about it though.
You cried. I did cry.
Oh, but that's a great thing. That was a human part of it. You hid that from me.
I hid that from you because, number one, I wanted my mom to feel supported, and I know she felt supported.
So was it for me or for your mom?
It was both. It was dual.
It was for her mama. Sorry, my whole pink finger at all. No, I'm playing.
It was dual because I wanted my mom to feel supported in that time of, she was preaching 200 plus nights out of the year. So I wanted her to feel supported and covered, and your presence with her, I know, made her feel safe and secure. You're a good one.
From all alarm.
Are you singing?
You said safe and secure.
You singing. But I know she felt that. Yeah. And then Rose, I know, tried to step in and become what she needed. And that was, those were kind of big. Although I'm a 6.5 in my foot size, this was still big shoes to fill because I know my mom innately. I know her like from the inside out. We technically share a brain and a heart. So, but
we don't share the same height though.
We don't share that.
You're like 7 inches taller than me.
No. I pull from the Brady side, definitely.
But you were able to kind of, you knew the season you were in.
I had to accept it. What I had to do was come to grips and come to terms with, sis, what you did before this was great and it served a wonderful purpose. But I had to be able to turn my heart and turn my mind towards what my next season was. And that season spanned for a long time.
It did.
Because we had kids pretty much 2 or 3 years apart from each other.
Working.
Get back. Don't tell all our business.
Fruitful and multiply and replenish.
Get back the earth.
I didn't know that last
But
part.
I knew in my heart, and I had to just come to grips with the fact that, Tina, this is your season. This is what you have to do at this point in your life. And I had to wrestle down every other thought or every other voice.
It's so good. So good.
So that I could just be okay with what my season was. And that didn't mean that you weren't a part of that season, but my responsibilities in that season, personally. And so, also, I think what helped me not be resentful in having a husband or a spouse who toured constantly, or maybe you're married to a doctor who is always in the office or in the hospital, or a lawyer, whoever you're married, maybe he's a truck driver and he's out or she.
Yeah.
And they're on the road
She's not a truck driver.
or a salesman. They're on the road 5 or 6 days a week. We don't know. Women drive trucks. I've seen them. We're gonna move on. But maybe your spouse, in order to support your family, or it's just a big part of their purpose, has to be gone from your family. I think the one thing that kept me from being resentful is that you always came to me and made sure that I was okay, and that you had my blessing in it's okay.
Yeah.
And I also want to just shout out the importance of being surrounded by family and friends who become family, that will surround you and make sure that you have what you need. I spent many a nights, no lie, when Jaden was born, on Mark and Lana's couch in Garner, North Carolina. When Chris would pack up and leave, I would pack up and leave too. He had his suitcase, I had my suitcase, because I didn't feel comfortable staying in our home. It was a bigger home, and it was newer for us, and I had a little bit of a spirit of fear. So when he packed his suitcase, I did. And I would go stay with Mark and Lana, and I would sleep on their couch with my newborn or in their guest room, or I would go to mom and dad's and I would stay there. And I just made a decision that I'm gonna do what I have to do, make the sacrifices or adjustments that I had to make in order to make sure that you were still doing what you needed to do, and I was doing what it's an assignment to raise kids.
It's an assignment.
I look back now, and we have a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, and an almost 8-year-old. And I don't just see them as children. I see them also as assignments, God-given assignments.
I see them as return on investment. That's what I see them as.
Yes, Jaden, we want you to retire us.
Joey and Judah, we're coming to stay with y'all.
Retire us
3 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
this is such great stuff.
They weren't just children and responsibilities or tasks. It was an assignment. And as long as we are in conversation, and as long as you made check-ins with me along the way to make sure that I was okay, that I was comfortable.
Like, I didn't take the tour or whatever the thing was until I talked to her.
There were definitely things that he turned down along the way that maybe somebody else would have been like, oh yes, this is about to be really, a great gain financially, or this is about to make, this could be a great opportunity or a great open door. If there was something happening in our dynamic where I felt, no, I need you right now, or the boys may need even more attention right now because they're getting ready to start school or something specific. These are conversations that we had, and you respected my voice, you respected my opinion, and we had the conversation together. It was never like, oh, I got a ticket, I'll be back. That didn't work. That never worked, and you never tried to make that work. And I think that's how, when you bring people in on the journey and the conversation and their voices are heard, that's how you keep resentment from setting up.
Yeah, you keep it from setting up, and I think there's something in the power of agreement.
Totally.
And we are believers, unashamed. We are believers.
Yeah.
And we believe that when we agree, when we come into alignment, there's something called the commanded blessing.
Absolutely. And we can't be married without that commanded blessing, and we can't raise kids without that commanded blessing.
Don't even try.
We
that's just for
like
us.
each other without the commanded blessing.
I need that blessing to like her.
Don't make me squeeze his finger.
No. Okay. So that's how she didn't resent me. Okay. Anyway. No,
so I just say, like, if you feel like you're battling with that or you're dealing with that, whether it's in your relationship with your spouse, it could even be with a parent.
Oh, man,
for things that have happened 20 and 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, even with a sister or a brother, that there's just not harmony and unity in your relationship, and there's always been strife for tension. I would just say, go back prayerfully, go back and share your heart. And chances are there is somebody on the other side who is willing to listen to you, who is willing to take it in, who is willing to have conversation, so that, it's the best outcome for everybody. Resentment is a nasty thing.
Yes.
It causes you to, instead of just open your arms to receive and build a future together, what we end up doing is building a wall between each other.
Yeah.
Right? We've experienced that too sometimes in the past.
Yeah. That wall, while it can keep you separated from another person, if you want to build it for between that other person, it also becomes a prison that keeps you trapped in.
Yeah.
And that wall is built by bricks of like resentment and just not letting things go.
Yeah.
You know?
And resentment turns into bitterness.
Yeah.
And I think we've probably all experienced that, or the temptation for resentment to turn into bitterness. But I don't believe that that's what God intends. I believe that He wants us to be in unity. He wants us to dwell together in unity. He wants us to have open conversation. So I encourage you too, in case somebody wants to come to you and talk about things that maybe they've been harboring or haven't shared with you, have a soft heart. Be open. Mm-hmm. Listen more than you speak. Yeah. And just be open to conversation. Don't get, what do you call it? Like when you just kind of get defensive, or you start shutting down immediately, because when somebody comes for you or comes to share something with you that maybe you did have some responsibility in, we kind of get defensive and we don't want to hear them. Yeah. But let me tell you how we've lasted 16 plus years, is that we have to wrestle down the innate thing inside of us that wants to get defensive and maybe self-righteous or point the finger back. But if you can remain open, if you can remain humble, something beautiful comes out of that. Yeah. And that's our encouragement for you tonight.
It is.
Don't give in to resentment. Do everything that you can to live peacefully and in unity with the people that mean the most to you. And at the end of the day, even if they don't receive it, say what you need to say, but do it with, yes, John Mayer, but do it with emotional intelligence, do it with kindness, tell the truth in love. And at the end of the day, if you have clean hands and a pure heart over that situation, I believe that even if you don't get the resolve that you need from that other person, God will still help you heal through that and grow through that and be fruitful through that. Amen. Give me an amen.
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 Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Ooh, shine, shine, shine. Let it shine.